first full week, I guess, of the NBA first round of the NBA playoffs has completed, and we're here talking about it with you. I, of course, am your host, Lane Foss, former TV sports anchor, joined by the trio this time. Not the four horsemen of Houston, but the three of them. I'm talking, of course, from left to right on my screen, Andrew Holly the fourth.
What's going on, everybody?
Chilling. DeMarcus Brodin.
How's it going, my people?
Tim Shealy, with even though they lost, he still got the Rockets avatar.
Yo, all day.
All right, so of course, we're going to get to the Rockets. We are, we don't want to neglect some of these other first round series, which have been pretty good in their own right, just like Rockets Mavericks. But we're going to spend a lot of time on the Rockets. But let's just bounce around real quick. Let's go ahead and start with in our nation's capital here. Let's start with the Washington Wizards. Pretty much the only thing interesting about this series, Paul Pierce probably needs to star in the newest Jurassic Park the way he was a Raptor killer in this series. But, Wizards get the sweep. Did you see anything from Washington to make you guys say that they can put the Hawks on, that they can make this a series and maybe even beat them? What do you think about the Wizards going forward?
I think the Wizards played great. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Oh, go ahead. Go. What you got, man?
I was going to say, I think the Wizards played great. The only thing that concerned me is that they played a very underwhelming Raptors team. Kyle Lowry, their star, didn't show up. Lou played as good as he could, but still wasn't consistent. Paul Pierce, we talked about him. DeMarcus called him the X Factor, key to the game, and he was. The only thing that just gives me, not to knock him, is as far as like a backhanded compliment, I don't see this team going far because Paul Pierce is not going to be able to lead you all three rounds, basically. Like, it's cool for him to come in and do what he has to do, but at some point, Bill and Wall are going to have to take over a game. And you've seen Wall have a big game, but, those last 5 minutes of the game is what I'm talking about. And a lot of times he disappears. So hopefully they learn something from this and move past this. And I can see them giving the Hawks a good game, but that's if the Hawks make it right now, because the Hawks are looking shaky. And I do expect them to close out, but when the Hawks lost, basically two of their key players recently here before the playoffs started, it's hard to say if this is a real, fully functioning Hawk team. So right now, I think the Wizards will. I think the Wizards could win, but I want to say that I see the Hawks in 6 if they do make it to the playoffs in the second round.
Definitely, I can definitely see that. Another key component to this entire series was Otto Porter, man. It's like we pretty much watched him grow into a legit NBA player, and it's been a long time coming. He was a number 3 pick coming out of Georgetown, and it took him a while to develop. He ended up on the bench early in the year in favor of Martell Webster and even Rasul Butler. So it's just good to see him grow. I mean, to come out throughout the series with 20-plus rebounds, knocked down a couple threes, got a lot of steals. He was very active on the blocks, and he played the second most minutes on the team next to Bradley Beal. So when it all came down to it, the real plus-minus was when Otto Porter was on and off the court. Now, you have to worry about Atlanta because the Nets, it seemed like they had something figured out in this last game, and even in the second game, which they could have pulled out if Darren Williams hit that jumper, an easy jumper, I might add. But it's something that the Hawks are missing, and they were a great team, but they came out of a weak East. So it's easy to get 60 games in the East. It's very easy. This team could probably get 45, maybe 50 games in the West. I don't see them winning 60 in the West. So the Hawks still have a lot of question marks, if you ask me. And I think if Paul Pierce can show up just like he did, and Otto Porter can continue to grow from the role that he's in now, they could have a decent chance at beating the Hawks. I mean, they're not a great talented team outside of Kyle Korver. When he starts to miss, like you've seen in Game 3, the Hawks will be in a lot of trouble. And Kyle Korver cannot go 0 for 5 from the three-point line, but all it takes is a little good defense. And if you get an active body like Otto Porter on Kyle Korver for 40 minutes in a game, it's a good chance he could end up going 0 for again.
I just look at it. I look at John Wall. Seems like he's found his playoff groove at this point in time. He started off game 1. He was somewhat shaky. I don't think he was really sure of himself. But over the course of the next 3 games, it's looked like he found his playoff groove, and I think that helps the team as a whole because, like you said, Drew, I don't think that Paul Pierce can carry this team, but he doesn't have to with the guys of John Wall or Bradley Beal, Aldo Porter stepping up and giving the team actually that youth burst. You know, they're a bunch of young guys running around, athletic. They can run the floor. John Wall finding the shots that are his, the shots that he likes. John Wall isn't a great shooter, but if he can find his shots, get to the lane, get his legs, I think that he can, have very good productive games. The next round, I'm not sure. I don't even know if the Hawks may make it out. I think it's actually turned into a series, which is funny saying to Brooklyn.
They don't look like a number 1 seed at all, man.
Yeah, and really going up against Brooklyn, I think that's even worse because who really expected Brooklyn to get a game? I don't even think they expected to get a game themselves, which is very sad. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens in game 4 and see what the Hawks can actually bring to the table. This is time for them to show that they are a true number 1 seed.
But I mean, when you have so-called the star Darren Williams shooting 7 for 26 for the series, and they still was able to get a game, that's pathetic, man. That's pathetic. As a number 1 seed, the Hawks need to be embarrassed. And then they have who's the center, Pero Antic. I think he shot 10 threes. Why is he shooting so many threes? Kyle Covington jacked up 23 threes. I just don't feel like they found the right groove. I feel like they always trailing and they have to come back. And a team that backed their way into the playoffs like the Nets, they shouldn't be giving the Hawks this much trouble if they truly want to be considered a number 1 seed.
No, they shouldn't. That's what I'm saying. To be a number 1 seed, that's what makes it. Maybe if they were 6 or below, but to be a number 1 seed, you're supposed to be the best team in that conference.
But you know what, though?
Well, I want to ask you all this because around this time last year in the first round, the Clippers were dealing with the whole Donald Sterling controversy, if you remember that. Now, 2 members of the Hawks, Pero Antic and the foreign Swedish brother, Tabo Cephalosha, were involved in let's just say it was police brutality. Are they kind of dealing with the same things that the Clippers were, but no one's really talking about it, A, because it's Atlanta, and B, it's police on minority violence? Could that have something to do with it? Or maybe they were distracted team?
No, this is my thing, and this is why I don't just fault the Hawks. Is because they became the number 1 team playing team ball. They don't have stars. They have good players and they have star-like players. But to say, I'll say they have a star. They don't have superstars. And what happens in the playoffs is your superstars step up. And right now, since the Hawks are an incomplete team, they're not the same team that won 60 games. Cephalosha was their Draymond Green. He was their defensive stopper. And they go defense. Their defense makes their offense. And with your important card out the way, you're an incomplete team. So you're seeing, the team that's missing some pieces. They're not looking great. Now, if they had a superstar on the team, no matter who they lost, they still wouldn't look as bad as they do. But since they're a team that's built on, we need everybody. Once that chain is gone, you're not seeing the same team. You're not seeing the same team you see in the regular season.
But the saddest part of it all, if the Nets actually had a legit superstar, this could be a complete
series. Yeah.
Because the Nets have, I think, 10 fast break points through 3 games. They had no fast break points the last game. Like, those are the most. Corey Brewer gave us 10 transition points today alone. And they can't get one person in the entire Brooklyn organization to start a break and get a layup. I don't understand it. I don't understand it, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're seeing, like, this is the great things about the team are the Hawks and what they do, and they're team concept. But once again, you're always showing that you need a superstar in the playoffs. You need a superstar in the playoffs. Unless your head coach is Greg Popovich, you need a superstar in the playoffs. And
who's the best player right now in that Atlanta-Brooklyn series? Who's the key factor? Who is the best player right now? Who do you think?
The best player is going to be T. He's the most important player in that series. And that's just because he's the closest thing that has to a star. And the Culver is a shooting star. He's an elite shooter. But as far as, like, how that team goes, it's T. T's running that show. You
T's
know,
running
and
the show, but on the other end, you got Brooke Lopez. Brooke Lopez is really giving them problems, and I think if they continue to feed him, the Hawks are going to be in some trouble this entire week because they
yeah,
cannot find an answer for Brooke Lopez. I mean, I think he got 59 points through the first 3 games. He averaging a double-double, got 34 rebounds. He's controlling the glass. He's not getting turnovers. When they feed him in the post, he's not turning the ball over. And I think he leads the series with block shots. So,
and you got to think about it like this. This is not that shouldn't be what anybody shouldn't expect. You know, because just last season, the season before, we were calling Brook Lopez the #1 center in the league. He was just on that little road, which
he was
is
supposed to be
becoming a
involved
revolver
in the
door.
Dwight Howard trade.
Yeah,
He
he was
matched
a,
Brooke Lopez.
and it seems like in center position nowadays, we don't have that guy for the next couple of years. Every year it's a new. This is the #1 center, you know. And just 2 years ago, he was that guy. Brook Lopez was unstoppable, you know. So he has this in him. He has this to take over in the game. But
But let's also not
Darren
forget
Williams,
this is a man that's a free agent too. So this man playing
yeah,
for a contract.
and
Contract year Lopez.
Both the Lopez brothers gonna be free
Yeah.
agents. San
yeah,
Antonio's gonna
Contract
be
year
knocking.
DeAndre.
San Antonio's gonna be knocking. They may land them both.
Man, I feel like we're gonna have to do a free agency special later in the summer once it starts up, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
head
definitely.
to yeah. Let's head to another series that got interesting. So the Bucks and Bulls. I felt like Milwaukee could get a game, and sure
Yeah.
enough, they did. Their bench man, Jared Bayless, with the game-winning layup. OJ 18 points, looking like he was looking everything like we thought he would be when he was a prodigy coming to USC. Jimmy Butler, 33 points, but not quite enough. All right, guys, cause a concern for the Bulls, or just the one good game for the Bucks where they gave energy. Just break down what this series means going forward.
I think it's both. Basically, I think it's just a good game from the Bucks. You know, last minute shot. But if you look at that game, and it was like, oh, I'm not gonna call it a lucky game or anything like that, but
Mm.
you know, they came around. They came around and they got the points when they needed. But also to mention is that Derrick Rose had key turnovers the last 5 possessions
Yeah.
coming into that, and just as we was hailing the Derrick Rose comeback, he instantly turned into a guy who hasn't played a whole season because that was a lot of basketball he played the night before. So you're seeing that bounce back. He's not used to playing 40 minutes. That was the first time he played 40 minutes in 3 years, maybe. So
Yeah.
and in playoffs. So you definitely seen a tired Derrick Rose with 2 games, with 2 days rest. So you've seen a tired Derrick Rose, and like I said, the Bucks, would they even be in that position? Because I still think this is the Bulls. I would call it a sweep. I would say a sweep, but I'll give them 5 games. But the main concern is Derrick Rose, and who is he?
I mean,
Because
I
that's a
understand
lot
what
of
you mean
5
by
possessions.
Derrick Rose, but you just gotta, as Tim alluded to about a week ago, Jason Kidd, he did a hell of a job with this team throughout the full year, and I feel like they just had to win one for Jason. I mean, that was a hell of a play he drew up because he pretty much made Derrick Rose make a decision, and Jason Kidd beat Derrick Rose that one time, regardless if this game goes 5, if it goes 6, they got that one victory, and that's huge for that Milwaukee franchise, especially with Jabari Parker coming back next season. So I think it was a huge confidence booster for the Bucks, especially a young Bucks team that actually had to depend on their veterans to win this game with the OJ Mayo, who was on Dallas, and also someone that the Clippers could really be needing at this time, Jared Dudley. He came in big time for them. So I think they leaned on their veterans this time around, but next season, this young Bucks team is going to be on the rise, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to Parker coming back and seeing how he'll gel with the team
Mm-hmm.
as well. But before the series started, I had Milwaukee getting them one game in.
Right.
I had them getting one because we still had to see what Rose was going to do in the playoffs, and we had to see what this team would look like in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler has pretty much emerged as a star for the team. They had the addition of Pau Gasol, so they were trying to gel as a playoff team. There's regular season and there's game. And I think they had to find their pretty much their playoff groove. But Milwaukee won. I don't think it's concern for the Bulls. I think they'll get it right. I think Thibodeau will come back and get them right. And it's good that they got their one out the way now because they have to deal with a LeBron and the Cavs. So they got that one out the way. They'll have their comeback game and next round against Cleveland. I'm ready to see that series.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's kind of how I feel like it's a concern because they didn't need to lose the game. If Cleveland is not losing the game, you can't drop the game because only giving LeBron more rest is going to hurt you more. You know, it's only going to hurt you more.
He was cramping today. They did announce that in I think the third quarter that he was cramping today. So these minutes have been getting to him. So definitely you don't want to get him rest because he's seen the last time he took that 2-week vacation, he returned to MVP LeBron. So giving him an extra few days off is only going to increase the chances of the Cleveland Cavaliers taking it.
Because right now, I think the Warriors don't play until Saturday. You know, so you basically talking about 6-7 days of not doing anything, and that's crucial right now. Huge in the playoffs.
Yeah, those days are huge, man. I mean, you got to. That's especially why I thought the Rockets would have won tonight. We're gonna save them. We're gonna save that for later. But let's jump to that Cavs series, man. That's a good segue. They put away the Celtics 101-93. Yeah, we kind of thought that. I want to talk about LeBron because he's playing well. Don't get me wrong, he's playing well. Should he be? Are you going to need to see more from him in the next series? And B, I want to talk about the sequence that happened. Start with this first, actually, because Kevin Love obviously separated shoulder. He came out and said that the guy Kelly Olynyk from the Celtics injured him, and I thought that was very interesting because in a season of NBA injuries, I think he's the first player to say that another guy tried to injure him.
Yeah.
And then here came J.R. Smith. Here came the goons off of Cleveland's bench magically. So let's get into that sequence, man. They're talking about J.R. Smith should be suspended 5 games. I've seen so much, hate on him on Twitter. Break down what happened in that game. Who is right and who is wrong? You all the experts.
Nobody's right, honestly. Because Kevin Love, they hurt him on purpose, and I'm not saying they hurt him on purpose, but it looked very intentional. It looked very intentional. But my thing is that with J.R. Smith is there was somebody else on that bench who could have did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
J.R. Smith can't miss a game if Kevin Love is going to be out 2 weeks. So if you even lose, let's just say that they go to play the Bulls next week, he's going to miss that first game. And who's going to combat Jimmy Butler if Kyrie or LeBron don't have a good game? Because J.R. Smith is that X factor, And with Kevin Love out, they're going to have to rely heavy on J.R. Smith more than they're going to have to. So I just felt like he should have let somebody else take that role and not retaliate. Because let's say if you do get 5 games, let's say you're out for the whole next series, that could be the reason why they lose, and you could have avoided that.
DeMarcus, what did you think when you saw Kendrick Perkins enter the game? What did you think when they dusted him off, man?
The first thing I was waiting for was the spray paint because I realized the NWO had just entered the Celtics Cavaliers matchup. So as soon as I seen Perkins come in, I knew what it was. This is a guy who has, I believe, 2 minutes of playing time prior to Game 4. So as soon as he came in, he hasn't took a shot. He hasn't even committed a turnover or a foul. I knew exactly what Kendrick Perkins was coming in for. He was coming in to bring the beef. He was coming in to set a message, and he made a statement. Now, they thought that probably would have been it, but then J.R. Smith just had to finish the job with a baseball bat, it seemed. And from that moment on, I knew that the Cavs were going to be in some deep trouble, and this is the main problem. If you still have a young team trying to develop in the playoffs, and now you have 2 veteran players coming in trying to control the series, that's not a complete team. They still have some kinks to work out. You shouldn't have to send one of your top 3-point shooters in there to cause a fight. You shouldn't have to bring someone in who's only played 2 minutes in the series to come in and commit a foul. Why are you doing that? You're supposed to be a champion, LeBron. Why are you bringing your goons in? I didn't like that. I'm kind of glad that Kevin Love got hurt because I'm serious, man. I'm kind of glad he got hurt because now LeBron James is going to be forced to carry this team with him and Kyrie. LeBron James set out, I think, for 3 minutes to start the fourth quarter, and the Celtics had closed it within a single-digit game. He hasn't gotten any rest. He's already starting to cramp, And I think it needs to be on his shoulders to carry this team. If he wanted to go back to Cleveland, this is what you're going back to.
But you know what? I do respect that, and I do understand that he's going to have to carry the team at some point. But I think for him, it's getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. It's getting to the finals, and that's what I'm going to take over. Because how he feels is that this is basically what he did in Miami. You know, like he left Cleveland not just because he wanted to come back home,
go to the same situation. I mean,
but he wanted to go to a better situation.
He played with Kyrie in the All-Star game. He knew exactly what kind of player he was getting.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, this is supposed to be a better team that doesn't need LeBron 42 minutes,
no, they
48 minutes. And if
LeBron's not in that game forcing double teams, then what are they gonna do? They can't create nothing on offense when he's sitting on the bench.
And that's what Kyrie's there for. Kyrie's supposed to be that guy.
And when they play the Bulls, they're gonna be throwing bodies at him left and right, and right. And who are they gonna have to bang? Tristan Thompson, Kendrick Perkins. That's the only big man you have. You're gonna put Sean Marion at four, see what he can do.
Moskow, I guess, is gonna have to play bigger than he normally does.
This team is in trouble because Kendrick Perkins is gonna have to play about 20 minutes this series. Kendrick Perkins, the guy that traveled 8 times a few weeks ago, is gonna have to play 20 minutes in this series, and that's what they're gonna be in the NBA. That's why they're gonna be in trouble because he's gonna get ate alive by Gasol, Noah, Gibson, Meritek. They're gonna eat him alive because he can't keep up with them. All he can do is foul, and once he goes to the bench, then what you gonna do? All you have is Timothy Mozgov. Timothy Mozgov cannot play the entire game. Matter of fact, this series he only played 70 minutes coming into this game.
Yeah.
He's not playing 30 minutes. He can't.
Situational only.
Yeah, situational. They bring him in for rim protection. Now he has to be out there. Now Tristan Thompson, he's going to have to be a key contributor to this team, and I just don't see it. He's
too small.
He's too small. I get the whole athletic thing. He can't make his free throws. He's not a playmaker. He's not going to be the answer. I don't see the Cavaliers beating the Bulls at all.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough. If I could back it up, J.R. Smith. I don't know what J.R. Smith was thinking. That was ridiculous.
As a veteran, man.
I don't know who needs to talk to him, but somebody needs to talk to him. That was ridiculous. The Kevin Love thing, yeah, I'm gonna say it. I think it was intentional. I think it was. I think it was very how did Love say Bush League?
Bush League, yeah.
I think that was intentional. But I'm also say as far for Jay Crowder, I don't know if y'all remember earlier this week. He said that nobody on the Cavs was intimidated. The Celtics were not intimidated by anybody on the Cavs. And I'm not sure if that's what the Cavs came out today. They knew it was game 4. They probably thought they had it in the bag, so they want to make some statements to certain players. So I'm not sure if it was either the love injury, or that statement to where
perfect storm.
Yeah.
Oh, he got singled out, man.
Because and that's what it looked like to me as well. It seems like they were targeting him.
Well, and that's the reason why is because he's the only guy on the Celtics team that gave them hope, and they basically
he's the only one that spoke out. He's the only one that actually stepped up and tried to take the Pierce route to it all, but you just see how it ended.
Yeah, and I respect it. I respect him saying that because as a competitor, as a player in the NBA, you shouldn't feel intimidated by somebody. Of course, they have LeBron. Of course, they have Kyrie, Kevin Love, whatnot. But I mean, they're competitors just like you. You know, I respect a player like that. He stepped up to LeBron 4 games, tried his best, did what he could. But I didn't like the last game. The last game was very ugly, and that was poor sportsmanship on a lot of players.
And that was one of my biggest things was game 1. I'm like, why is LeBron playing 42 minutes against the Celtics game 1?
Man,
you know, like
40 plus in every game.
And this is why like he came to.
And this was a sweep. Lord, if it went 6, he'd probably be dying.
Yeah, but he has the basketball mind, the court vision. Kyrie isn't there, and LeBron is the player that's always going to make the smart play. He's always going to make that right decision.
Yeah, because he commands a double team every time. You have to have 2 people watching him at all time, if not guarding. You have to have two people with a set of eyes on LeBron James at all times because you never know if he's going to take it to the rack. He may come off the pick. He may step back and try to shoot the three. He may come off the pick hard, take you straight to the rack, get the and one. He may dunk on you. He may throw a oop, a no look pass, a bounce pass to the corner. He has so many different ways to beat you on the offensive end that you have to have people watching him at all times.
Yeah, but like I
But
said,
now
he
he's gonna
structures.
have a set of Bulldogs watch him at all times, and not some Celtics.
And I hate that Kevin Love is out because LeBron finally was able to get on the team and get a break whenever, because Kyrie, the rotation with Kyrie and Love on the court with whoever else to have filling out, that lineup is good enough to give LeBron an extra 3-4 minutes off the floor, because in Miami he's 40 minutes, 42, 45, all 82 games. And one thing I don't think a lot of people notice, and many people do notice, is that the big talk about LeBron was how small he got before the season. And nobody's realized that he has picked up weight coming into the playoffs. And he's probably going to be the first player that I recognized, I knew, who grew into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of holding prime time weight for 82 games, since you're getting older, you can't carry that 82 games. He decided to hold off on that, pretty much be efficient, and grow into the playoffs. And now he's prime playoff LeBron, which nobody's ready for, because I haven't played against this LeBron all season.
But as selfish as this may sound, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm bashing LeBron, I'm just glad that he's getting a little taste of his own medicine by going back to Cleveland. But I want to see how he responds when Kyrie starts to miss his shots. Kyrie made a lot of clutch shots. I think he shot 50% from the three-point line the entire series. So once those shots stop falling and LeBron doesn't have a fallback plan, I want to see what the Cavs are going to do after that.
And those shots are gonna miss because
They're gonna
yeah, he's been shooting great.
But Butler's
going
gonna
to
be on him.
terrible. A lot of them have been terrible shot selections. A lot of them have been not the best shot selection. They just go in, and so now you're gonna go against somebody who's a little bit bigger, so you don't have just a mismatch on size and speed.
Mm-hmm.
Now you gotta make the great shot, and he doesn't make the best shot all the time. And so what happens?
A lot of his shots are risky.
Yeah, poor shot
Shots
selection.
are risky, street ball mentality shots. And as soon as those shots start missing, we're going to see the real Cavaliers.
You're going to see him indeed, man. I mean, I do think it'll be interesting, especially in the second round. And I like to think that a lot of some of that brawling was to send a message to Chicago. But we'll see then, fellas. Over to the West we go now, and let's just start with this series, man. Grizzlies Blazers. Grizz look like they won. They'll sweep Portland. They brought back, despite them bringing back Aaron Aflalo, who really was ineffective. Now it looks like Mike Conley might be out after injuring his face.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the most irrelevant series in the playoffs?
To me, of all time. I mean, it's you. Anytime you even turn the game on and don't feel like they got a chance, I just think Lillard is throwing up everything. Anytime he has the ball, he's just throwing it up. It don't look like he's even trying to run a play. Lillard looks pretty poor compared to all the hype that he was coming off of last year.
Now what happened? He did make his name against the Rockets last year. We are going to get to, but what happened to Big Game Day? It seems like it's been game over in these playoffs.
Man, I honestly think he letting a lot of the celebrity get to his head. I mean, this is a guy that's coming from a small college, and he's also in a small town in Portland, so he's relishing in the spotlight. He also was kind of one of the most overlooked Rookie of the Year winners in recent history, because I think he broke Steph Curry's three-point record as a rookie coming in the league. So for someone that had so much hype and then coming off a huge playoff last season, I really feel like he regressed. And I think he bagged into the All-Star game even this season. He wasn't a legitimate All-Star that got voted in. He pretty much got on the team because of all the injuries that the West had. So, I mean, I pretty much think he regressed this entire season, and I think LaMarcus Aldridge also seen that regression, and that may be the reason why he won't be in Portland next year.
Yeah, it's just been injuries. It was an injury team. It was an injury series, and not to take away from Memphis and not to take away from what the Portland does, I think regardless of who won the series, I think the Warriors would have won still, regardless. That matchup was just a throwaway game, and I feel like the Warriors are going to roll to the Western Conference. I think Memphis would have gave them the better game out of the two, and that's why they are going on to the next round. But that Memphis team, they can't score. They can't score when they need to, and you can't do that against the Warriors, who score when they don't need to. It's not gonna help. So
It's definitely not going to help. And then another thing you got to look at, this Portland team could be losing 3 of their starters from last year's playoff team if they lose Aldridge, Lopez, and Wes Matthews to free agency. So this team could be one of the bottom 5 teams in the Western Conference come next season. And that's sad to say, especially with an explosive player like Lillard, to him to be stuck with the likes of Alonzo G, Chris Kaman, Myers Leonard come next season.
Not to take anything away from Memphis, as Drew said, Memphis has played a good series. Memphis has played some good games. They've gotten production from their starters and their bench. They're the team that makes the hustle plays. They're that blue collar team. They work, they grind, they get the points they need to, they make the stops when they need to. But Portland, LaMarcus Aldridge, I'm pretty sure he's gone after this year for some reason. As far as him having bad luck of having injured teammates, he's hurt, but everybody around him just seems to go down. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what the water in Portland, but it's something, man. And I think this series is basically, if anything, it's just showing us that body language, I'm not sure he's going to be there much longer.
I mean, but think about the days counting down when KG finally realized he wouldn't win in Minnesota. You kind of felt bad for him because you just finally thought, like, man, he's just never going to pass over Tim Duncan or Shaq or just even get to the finals. Give him a chance. So I kind of feel the same way about Aldridge now. I'm kind of glad that West went down in the middle of the season because this way it gave Aldridge a chance to look at what he could possibly have. Because West could have cashed out. If West had a great playoffs, he could have cashed out with any team in the league. Somebody would have paid West that money, and he would have took it. So I'm kind of glad that Aldridge can see what he'll be stuck with and that he's not going to get any further than what he did last year by making it to the second round, and he can actually go to a contender because I'd hate to see his talent get wasted for another 6 years shooting up jumpers with the Blazers like Carmelo going to be with the Knicks.
Playing with the hurt hand. Hurt hand, by the way.
Matthews being out, I think, hurt them a lot more than people expected it to.
Oh yeah, it definitely did.
Matthews being able to shoot, his defense is surely missed.
I got him as one of the top 3 two-way players in the league behind James Harden and Klay Thompson at shooting guard.
Player on the team, and I think it's exposed Lillard as far as on the defensive end. Lillard isn't
he's not a stopper.
Yeah, he's not a stopper.
He relied a lot on West to take away that guard from getting on top of him. That's why he was able to roam around and shoot all these threes and just roam around the court. He can't do that now because he's getting hand checked as soon as they inbound the ball. So they all in his face because they know that the 2 guard can't handle the ball. West could bring the ball up. I wouldn't pass the ball to Aaron Aflalo if he was open, ready on the inbound pass.
So I think that injury really did. That injury really hurt their team, and it really is. It's what's missing basically this series. That's what's missing is Wes Matthews on that team.
Well, like we said, I mean, this no matter who won this series, they lose to the Warriors, especially now that the Warriors they swept the Pelicans, 39 points. Another big night for my brother Stephen Curry. We'll get to see his fine ass mama, and he's even find a sister there in the postseason again. But anyway, Klay Thompson, 25 points. This team continues to grow. 2 things. These are 2 teams, obviously, Warriors and Pelicans, going in different directions. Break down what the future holds for the Pelicans, because reports are that they're going to offer Anthony Davis the max contract, and break down the Warriors, who are obviously, full steam ahead to the Western Finals.
Pay that man.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tim.
As far as at the beginning, this may not be very popular, but I think that series could have been 2-2 at this point. I think the Pelicans let 2 games slip through their fingers, especially that 20-point lead. I think that was their game to lose. No disrespect to the Warriors, no disrespect to anybody on that team. They all played good enough in order for a team to pull off the comeback.
a team has to pull off the comeback. And the Warriors did. They didn't give it up. They didn't throw in the towel and say, let's just go ahead. We'll lose this one and come back next game. Nah, they played and you know what I'm saying, they made that comeback. But Anthony Davis, man, that dude there, national stage playoffs. I don't know how many people get to watch New Orleans throughout the regular season, but that dude is a monster, man. Freak of nature, possibly the best player coming up in the league behind LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
They need to pay him now. I don't know how much money the city of New Orleans has as a whole, but they need to give it all to him.
I'd have to agree with that, man. And then you match, and the thing that just kills me the most, man, is he doesn't even have a jump shot yet. He was still able to put up 30 plus in almost every game.
First player in 40 years to do it.
Like,
His first playoff series.
And he can't hit his jumpers yet. So this guy could be averaging 45 points in the playoff series pretty soon. But they got to get some talent around him. It's hard to recruit people to come to the Pelicans. And I also think Monty Williams got to go. I think he did a poor job of executing down the stretch. I think he did some questionable decision making, especially in the game where they blew the lead by not giving Davis the ball enough. He kind of gave the keys to Tyreek Evans to close the game, which I understand. He was one of the leaders as far as points per possession in the paint at the guard position, but you got to give it to your monster. You got to feed him. Let him close the game out. You got to let Davis close the game out.
Or even Ryan Anderson, man. That was, like I say, man, that was just, to me, poor execution, poor coaching. That was, man, I'm kind of getting upset talking about it.
Yeah, you can get mad, but at the same time, the Golden State Warriors did what they were supposed to do. They only made a statement by being the first team to sweep in the playoffs. Now they're at home resting. Steph Curry broke a record that was held by Ray Allen for playoff threes made in a 4-game series. So that's just him writing his name in the record books again. They had solid play. I feel like 1 through 10 they had solid play. Yeah. I feel like 1 through 10 they had solid play. I can't really give a weak spot in that team. I mean, they work great together. Draymond Green played with a chip on his shoulder. Andre Iguodala did some great things off the bench. I think he was third on the team in total assists behind Curry and Draymond Green. So when you have those type of players 1 through 10, that's what makes the Warriors so special. And then Kerr has been in this position. He's been in this same boat with the Bulls team with Michael. They had talent 1 through 10 outside of having Michael Jordan. So I really don't see nobody beating this team if they play like they did against the Pelicans. And I mean the resiliency to come back, hit the dagger shots, and close out teams like you're supposed to do in the playoffs. It's hard to see someone beating them 4 times in a 7-game series if they play like they did against the Pelicans.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm keeping
the Pelicans
a close
put up
eye.
a hell of a fight. They put up a hell of a fight. It wasn't easy. It was not easy.
I've been watching this game more closely than the others, just because of the fact that you had 2 MVP candidates in this matchup. I don't think any other series had 2 MVPs, and basically you have the one who's going to win it and the one who's going to win it, future reference wise. I'm glad to see that everybody knows who Anthony Davis is, but to get to see him for 48 minutes, I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't. And basically, this guy has the ability to take over games on both sides of the court at the same time. It's not one stretch where he's just doing it defensively and other he's doing it offensively. The first game of the series, for the last 4th quarter, he affected the game on both sides of the court. He'll go make a play one side, run down the court, make a huge block on another. Mm-hmm. Like, it's nobody who can keep up with this guy, and it's safe to say he is the second best player, on both sides of the court after LeBron James. Is a complete player overall, and I feel like they're a piece away, or just somebody to help him grow as a player, who's going to make him grow as a player. I think Eric Gordon and Tyreek Evans and Ryan Anderson, they're good players, and they're good. And Eric Gordon, this is the kind of game we want, this kind of series we want him to have. This is what he's getting paid for. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if he's going to be the guy who's going to push Anthony Davis to be that next guy, and so they need somebody either to be there to grow with him, or Anthony Davis is going to be on another team, which I feel like he is going to be on the team.
And that's true.
Um,
I think he gonna cash in. He gonna leave because when Norris Cole is one of your veteran leaders, I mean, I feel like he was the only person that was being vocal on that entire team.
yeah,
Norris Cole,
absolutely.
and that's you shouldn't have to say that. You shouldn't be Norris Cole the one that's stepping up, and he's the eighth guy in the rotation.
Yeah, and so that's the Pelicans. I feel like the Pelicans are trending. Once you in the West, once you get to that playoff, once you're a trending team, so
Hmm.
you can always see them take the next step
Exactly.
going forward.
Just like the
The
Memphis
Thunder.
Grizzlies. The Grizzlies
So
when they first beat the Spurs in the first round, then from there you knew that the Grizzlies were a contender to win a playoff matchup.
yeah,
So
so
it's all about that first series, you know.
the Pelicans are only trending, and then I saved the Warriors for last because this is the one seed going against the eight seed. So more times out of 10, you expect the one seed to handle them easily, or just as many games, as least games as possible. You're not going to see an upset usually in this series, and the Warriors made sure you didn't. Um, they played hella games, 4 games, and they had to win some of those games. But like I said, take the Anthony Davis off that team, and the Pelicans had no chance,
Hmm.
no chance, and it would have been the same with Russell Westbrook. But I
Hmm.
think the Warriors played a complete game. I think they played complete stretches. They were down by 20, needed to win that game. You see Steph show up, and it wasn't just Steph. And this is the reason why I think I like the Warriors the most is because they have guys 2 through 10 who are not going to rely on Steph Curry. And
Hmm.
what I mean by that is that, being a big Laker fan and following Lakers, a lot of times those guys will put Kobe the ball and they'll just walk away and they'll watch. Nobody on that Warriors team watch when Steph's playing. They keep playing. They keep going for it.
Hmm.
He missed 2 big threes, but he had 2 teammates right there for the putback
Attacking the glass.
who wasn't waiting for him to make the shot.
And one of them was Sean Livingston,
Yeah.
the
So
backup point guard.
you got a team full of players who know they have a star, who is their star, but they're not going to just watch them play. And that separates, a guy who's just carrying by team, and you have a good team. And I
But
feel like Drake.
the
Go ahead.
best thing that happened to the Warriors is playing the Pelicans because, like you said, Westbrook just would have been throwing up shots and trying to break playoff points records. I think to play a team that actually had something to play for, that hasn't been in the playoffs for, I believe, the last 3 years,
Yeah.
I'm glad that they got to play a true team and not a great player. Because I think this only made them stronger to sweep this team, who was very competitive. They had them a few times, and they overcame that adversity that you didn't get to see in the Warriors' regular season. Although it is the 8th seed, it was still adversity to be down by 20. So I'm just glad that they was able to play a true legit team as they coast through the playoffs.
Well, and this was the hardest. This was the hardest matchup out of the Thunder and the Pelicans. This is the team they wanted to
Exactly.
see the least.
Hmm.
And I just think that regardless if you want to call Curry, MVP over Harden or Harden or MVP, I feel like Steph Curry played huge. Every game, besides maybe the second game is his worst game out of the 4. But other than that, like the guy is a killer. The guy is a killer, and he's doing it on both sides of the court. And
Definitely.
I feel like for somebody who needed to make a statement more than anybody on the Warriors team, regardless, was going to be Steph Curry. And I think Clay played good. Clay's going through kind of a shooting slump right now, and we're in stretches. He goes really cold in stretches.
Clay
Um,
averaged the quietest 25 per game I ever seen in life.
like if you're watching the games, it's
Like
like
where did he
stop
get
shooting the ball.
25? Like
Yeah,
where?
stop
Like
shooting the
is
ball.
he like writing in his own scores? I don't see him score, but he always no. I take that back. Game 1, he showed up in the fourth, and that's
Oh
when he
yeah,
put on a huge output. But other than that, I don't know where he get his points. He get his points real sneaky, man. He get his
but you
points
know
real
what? It's
sneaky.
easy to get points when you and Steph are averaging over 20 shots a game. Him and Steph are averaging 20 attempts a game, more than 20
Yeah.
attempts a game. And
More
everybody's cool with
volume.
that. Everybody's cool with that on the team. Like, hey, you keep
They
shooting.
both hit at least 4 threes a game. So
Yeah, and Steph is going to keep taking them. And also, I think what people need to see is how real Steph Curry is. Like, you see him play, dude's real. Anthony Davis could not stay in front of him with the length, with the athleticism, and Steph's still hitting crazy shots. And this is like, if you shoot over Anthony Davis, you almost can shoot over anybody in the league.
with his eyes closed.
Oh,
With his
and he
eyes
does.
closed.
and he does.
And then
Let's head to the. Oh, go ahead. Finish that up.
and then that shot to send them in overtime, huge,
Yeah, you
huge.
one of the best playoff shots I've seen in the past few years. No, I take that back. The Vince Carter one against San Antonio last year was pretty good too. I put
Yeah,
that one up there. I think
absolutely.
this one was better though because, like you said, it was a more impossible shot. But
I still
let's see.
I still
Let's
think
move down to the.
the hockey assist to Ori back in '02, man. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Moving down to the lower end of the bracket. Clippers, Spurs. This is ugly. Now, Game 3, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin. They look MIA. Chris Paul put it on himself, and yesterday afternoon, now Sunday, he's on the East Coast, 34.7 assists. Blake Griffin, almost 20 and 20. He had 20 and 19 day at the office for DeAndre. This goes back to LA now. Who Chris Paul said he didn't know who had the momentum in this series. So I'm going to ask the experts, who has the momentum right now in this series?
I'll say the Clippers because they're going to they have home court advantage going forward. So you have 2 games at your court. You just got to win your home games. But who wants to see the Spurs in 7 games in Game 7? It's no matter where they're playing at. It's Game 7 for them. But I'll say that right now it's trending the Clippers just because they won the game. That's how it's swinging so much. Because the Spurs were on a roll. The Spurs was on a roll and then got halted up. So right now it's with the Clippers. I think Chris Paul is going to have to continue to play at a MVP level. He's going to have to score at an elite MVP level and not just be the guy, just want to assist. Because right now, JJ Redick is playing very inconsistent for you, and he's not regular season JJ. Matt Barnes is Matt Barnes, and you gotta hope that an Adrian Crawford is going to give you something. So right now, besides Blake Griffin and his inside shots, his inside 15 shots, anything further than that is going to have to be dependent on you. So Chris is going to have to continue to play good, continue to play well at an elite level, and I think they can win this series. But if he doesn't show up, then it's going to be Kawhi Leonard versus the Clippers, and you see how that happens.
Also, how big was Austin Rivers? Now he should be in the league realistically, but he did 16 points today.
Oh, yeah, he made Papa proud today, man. He really did. He came off. I feel like he matured as an NBA player, and he became that player that everyone questioned the Clippers for. Why would you let Nate Robinson go? Like, what do you see in your son? And he showed it today. He played huge, but as Andrew was saying, Chris Paul is still going to be the key to this series. He's had 57 playoff games. 10 of those games he scored over 30. In those 10 games, he's 8-2. Doc Rivers said he's probably the best scoring point guard he's ever seen, and he wishes he just scored more. Chris Paul looked at himself as a helper, as an assister. You see the State Farm commercials and all this and that. But he has to be aggressive on the scoring output. I think he still has the advantage over Tony Parker and Patty Mills. And you've seen today, he probably had, like they said, he probably has the best mid-range jumper in the league. And he led the league in pull-up jumpers. So this is his game. So all Chris Paul has to do is continue to play his game. The series now goes home, but you have to win your home games. You can't let what happened in Game 2 happen in Game 5. Because Blake Griffin played a hell of a game, triple-double, I get that, but trying to ISO up by 2, trying to do an isolation up by 2, no. Get the ball back to Chris Paul. Let him control the game. That's not your game, Blake. That's not your game.
Not at all. I also think that and I thought this earlier on in the series, Paul is going to have to play amazing. And especially after the game 1, once Parker was banged up, I figured that this would be Paul's series to have. This would be something for him to build on because he's kind of been questioned lately also about his playoffs. He hasn't been able to fulfill what people expected him to be as far as coming into the playoffs and being that player in the playoffs and lead this team on to conference finals, NBA finals, something of that nature.
Where he at, man? It's tough in the West, dude. It's tough in the West just to make it, and you lucky to get out the first round sometimes. You're lucky to get out the first round. They was lucky they had the Warriors last year, and they took them to 7. It took them 7.
Warriors should have won that game.
Hey man, that's the difference between trying to be a good player and being a great player. You have to overcome some of that stuff.
And
Right
I
now, I
think
understand what you're saying,
what
but
kills Chris is he's also small. He's tough. He's tough as nails. I don't want to discredit anything about him. I love him. I still think he's one of the best point guards, if not the best point guard in the league. It's probably 1 and 2 with him and Steph Curry right now. But Chris Paul is still 6 foot. And when you throw these long defenders on top of him, he struggles. And that's exactly what's going to happen because sooner or later, the Claw is going to get that assignment for Chris Paul, and it should be coming game 5. It should be coming game 5. And he's going to have to make the same effort, score these same type of points with Kawhi Leonard on him for 40 plus.
either that or he's going to have to get the help from a JJ Redick or Matt Barnes. I understand that they've been inconsistent, but I like Paul's game 4 today. I think he did what he needed to do. He played an excellent game. He played the game to win. And like you say, once the call gets on, that's going to be a very tough for Paul to get past him and get over him, get around him. Kawhi is an excellent defender, not a good, excellent. Kawhi, his length, his athleticism, he's able to patrol you 94 feet really if he wanted to. But I mean, you got Blake. Blake has played a pretty good series. Other than that, his and one moves on the isolation, Blake has played a damn good series. He's matured. He's shown that he's more than just the dunker.
He can't hit jumpers.
Yeah, he can hit your jumpers. He can hurt you from 12. You don't think so?
No, he can't. Have you seen they pretty much baiting him into taking those jumpers and he's not completing them. And I'm tired of hearing all this. Oh, look at Blake's form and look, he's not pushing up his jumper. He's not making them. And it all comes down to him making those jump shots. The only way he'll be a complete player, because I see him as being the next mode of Chris Webber, but he has to hit those jump shots. That's the only thing missing from his game. The only thing. And he's not knocking them down. He's not knocking them down. Even Amar Stoudemire can hit his, but look at Blake. He can't hit nothing.
Blake Griffin, by the way, 9-17. Go ahead, Tim. What's up?
No, that was I think that was
Nah, yeah, no. The only thing I was gonna say is that to Tim's point is that Chris Paul played a great game, game 4. But what scares people and what makes people think the Clippers are weak is that he's gonna have to play that way for the next 2 series. Because the next round, let's say they do win, and then he goes against the Rockets. Chris can't take a backseat against the Rockets. Not with James Harden scoring the way he scores, or has the ability to. So, he's gonna have to be 28, 25, 28 plus point game, Chris Paul for the next every game.
And
going to the finals.
And I know we get on JJ a lot, but Jamal Crawford can't have a game like he had in Game 3. I mean, 1 for 11 is that's poor shooting, and that's their best bench player and almost their only option on the bench.
No, that is the bench.
You stop Jamal Crawford in the pond, so
Jamal Crawford. Austin Rivers already had his good game. That's it.
That's pretty much it. He may not even show up to the next game. He may be like, what, Dad? I ain't going. You see what I did?
Well, hopefully, Chris Paul probably hopes as we get to the grand finale, so to speak. He probably hopes that if he faces the Rockets, they play like the Rockets did tonight. 109-121 was the loss. Heads back to Houston. The Rockets. I'm disappointed that they didn't get the sweep. So I'm not going to break down the X's and O's of the stories. I want to ask that main question. Because I feel like for this team to really take that next step, if they're ready to make something happen, that this should have been a sweep. But DeMarcus, you talked about on the messages and whatnot, you said that it's okay. You saw this coming. What do you guys think? Break down where the Rockets are right now.
Well, DeMarcus, if you let me go before you, because I know you have more to say on this than I do. And I really want to hear your opinion, and I really want to hear you and Tim's opinion on linked about it. So I'll just kind of be brief about it and just kind of the footnotes, just from the outside looking in. I think the Rockets played, I'm not going to say a poor game because they got to the free throw line. They did what they were supposed to do. Just the only thing I can say is that, and this is like, how can you say that they didn't play a poor game? I felt like in different moments and different stretches, they played the couple minutes of basketball they needed to do to get back in the game. They just didn't play a complete 10-minute round, and I feel like they learned a lot today. They learned that we can't just play a couple minutes and we're going to be right back in there. We need to play, as me and Lane was talking earlier, they need to be able to play 5 minutes straight of just solid defense. They need to
Hmm.
be able to play stretches where they are just playing lights out and not just a couple of possessions. Because you've seen a couple of possessions, they were playing hard. And then Rick Carlisle, what a great coach do? Call a timeout, call a great play, diminish our momentum.
Hmm.
And so that's something that the Rockets are going to have to learn and realize and know that they can do is that they can make comebacks. When down, they can make the plays and they can draw the setups that they need to do it. But it's doing it complete. Even when the other team calls a timeout, you have to come back to the same. I feel like that's a good sign that Corey Brewer and Josh Smith, even though Josh Smith was very infuriating for 3.5 quarters, for 3 quarters, but I feel like you're still getting that constant play from Corey Brewer, from Josh Smith. So you're seeing that your bench is able to produce every game and not just miss a game. But the chippiness with Dwight Howard and Tyson Chandler is going to be a problem because he's getting in Dwight Howard's head.
Hmm.
Dwight had a huge game last game, but you seen Dwight shy away today, especially with Dwight going against Tyson and Amari Stoudemire. So Dwight is getting bullied, especially when they're like, "Hey, we can be more physical. Fine, we'll be more physical." And you see that Dwight is getting out physical, so we'll see how he comes back. James, I want to say James then wasn't as engaging as he was in the other games, but it's hard. I guess it's hard to do when you're playing down and everybody's not hitting the shots. Uh, I felt like Trevor Ariza took a lot of uncharacteristic shots. Like I said, this is one of the
There
best.
was a lot of bad shots from him, though.
And as I was saying, they're surprising to see because Houston's one of the top analytic teams, and they always pride themselves on taking the best available shot just within the game. And to see him take a lot of bad shots or a lot of shots that weren't in the scheme of the team, kind of surprised me. Kind of selfish play going on. He did play some good defense on the backside, but you know I always said that, and I said this early on, is that I want to see Monte Ellis go off because I want to see how James Harden responds. And Monte went off again, and James didn't respond the way I thought he should. I thought he needed to, like he did last game. But I didn't call a sweep. I said the Rockets will beat them in 5, which is what I think they're going to do to this next coming time. But like we said earlier today before the podcast, the Rockets needed to win this game because you want to go against the Clippers or Spurs and the healthiest situation you can be, especially with them battling and them being tested, and they're going to be worn. So you're going to have the advantage if you close this game out. So this was a huge game, and the fact that they didn't take it as serious as they should have early on definitely showed. But like I said, I want to give it to DeMar. I know I want to hear what to say about more stuff in more detail.
I mean, at the end of the day, Dallas played a hell of a game. My hats off is to them. I mean, they was pretty much backed against the wall. It was do or die. It's either win or you just pretty much going down the street and you're staying at home. Alfred Gaminu played a hell of a game. JJ Barrera was a pest as usual. Monte Ellis made some key shots. Dirk had a quiet 16. Charlie came in huge with the threes. Amari Stoudemire came in big. So they had performance all down the road, all across the board, and that's what you had to expect. Trevor Ariza, you can tell he needed a little bit of rest. He was flat on his shot today, but you have to expect that Trevor's going to have at least one bad shooting game. I'm glad that it came in round one away and not at home in round two. So I am glad with that. Dwight couldn't hit his free throws today, which before today's game he was shooting 66%. You knew sooner or later it was going to even out. Today he missed 10 free throws. That's a normal thing for Dwight, but when he does miss that many free throws, we typically lose that game. Jason Terry couldn't hold his man, and he also couldn't hit his threes. He only hit 1 3 today, went 1 for 4. And a lot of those missed threes came in key moments when it was either a 3-point game or it was a tie game. Corey Brewer came in big with his transition points, but he had to force a lot of the activity because the Rockets offense couldn't get moving around him. So you're seeing Corey Brewer take a lot of shots he usually don't take. Josh Smith was huge, but you don't want to see him jacking up that many threes in the fourth, especially when you're down that big, because those misses could have easily turned this game to a 30-point game. James Harden didn't shoot the ball well, going 1 for 7 behind the 3-point line. He was only able to get 5 assists. That's mainly because every time he tried to throw a oop or pass to Dwight, they fouled him to put him on the free throw line, which you're supposed to do. I'm glad that they experienced all of these things because you don't breeze through the playoffs. You just don't. It's not easy. You don't get these games. You don't just sweep a team like that. It doesn't happen. Like I was telling you guys earlier, only 14% of the NBA series end with a sweep. It's one of the lowest predicted outcomes in sports. And this is the same Mavericks team that a lot of the experts picked to beat this Houston team in 6, maybe 7. So for them to get a game is not cause to hit the panic button in Houston. Yes, we haven't had a sweep since 1995, but a lot of teams can say the same thing because it doesn't happen a lot. It would have been great for the confidence, but they need these type of losses on the away court to humble you. And now you get to come home, you get a few days of rest, you get to get some of that home cooking, getting your home environment, changing your locker room, and you're going to have your fans behind you because you don't want to take this series back to Dallas. Game 4 was a critical game, but it's no more important game in this franchise history, probably for the last 10 or 20 years, than this Game 5 coming up. Because if you let them go back to Dallas, you shift over the entire momentum of the series. And James Harden has to play like an MVP in Game 5, or this could be a Game 6 easily.
Tim,
I know
man, what's up?
you never want to lose a game. You know, you never want to lose a game in the series. But to me, if you're gonna lose one, you would like to lose one in the first round so that you can come back, readjust, make your adjustments to your players, your game plan, and go forth from there. I of course, like every other fan, would have liked to see the sweep, but like I say, I have no problem with them losing in the first round, coming home, and you know what I'm saying, adjusting to what happened today. The Rockets played a bad game. Not taking anything from the Mavericks. The Mavericks played a great game. They were hitting on all cylinders. All their players came in, made shots, made defensive stops.
At
They
key
made
time.
Yeah, and that's it. They made a lot of huge momentum swings when we could have scored. They made the defensive stop and came down on the other end and also scored, which, you know what I'm saying, that's a huge swing. You can go from being down 6 points to being down 9 points to being down 3 points. You know, there's so many different things that could have happened. But I liked it, man. Monte has played a damn good series, if you ask me. He's not always as efficient, but he's able to get some points on the board. The To me, the thing that's hurting us right now is Patrick Beverly, not having a Patrick Beverly type player. I know he doesn't bring much on the offense, but you know, Jason Terry, I hope he's not yet, but he may be running out of gas this early, having to fill in the shoes of the starting point guard role. And Pablo Prigioni isn't a youngster himself. He's 37 years old. So we don't really have much depth at that point guard position. And having to chase a J.J. Barea and even a Devin Harris around the court is going to tire you out, man. It's going to tire you out in the series. And I think that has something to do with your defense and your offense on the other side because you're sucking air trying to score or trying to make plays for your teammates on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, and they killed us on the boards. You know, a lot of the defense today was switches. And a lot of the Dallas switches, they forcing the big man to come to the forefront, whether it's Josh Smith or Dwight Howard or Terrence Jones. And what that does that a lot of people don't see, that takes an extra big man out the box to get a rebound. That's how they killed us on the boards today, 52-38. So it all comes down to making adjustments on that pick and roll. You can't continue to let your big man go out there and you get hammered on the boards like this. Or this is going to be the outcome, you know, because they do have some big bodies in there. But I just don't see Alfred Aminu getting 12 boards again next game. Or if that does, it could be a long night.
With that pick and roll, I just felt, and I didn't mention it earlier, but to that point, I was getting just very tired of seeing Dirk on James Harden or Dirk on whatever the point guard, and I'm like, Josh, you know that's a mismatch. You know that's a mismatch, and they just kept switching every time down the court, and they were just going to the best matchup available. And
yeah, that's pretty much they do the pick and roll and say, oh, who you got? Oh, okay, you got the Jet. Here you go. And, you know,
Yeah,
and that's how Charlie Villanueva was able to get so open because his man was usually an older point guard on the switch, and they telling him to just go out there and follow Charlie, and they're not following Charlie.
yeah, because once you have to try and come down and help or double team on that, you have somebody open. And Dallas has some shooters, or at least they've been hitting their shots. Some guys that have hit their shots and have just exploited those mismatches, man.
And then you can't miss 11 shots in a row. You just can't do that. That's not good NBA basketball. Anybody that missed that many shots, of course, the other team's gonna make a run. And they was
Terrible
making
third quarter.
terrible third quarter. I mean, and they weren't just taking to the paint. They was shooting threes. They was stopping in transition. Dallas had their way with us in the third quarter.
Pretty much, man. What about now? What about James Harden? Because now, all season long, the MVP race has been close. Um, tell me what Steph Curry in his game 4, 39 points. James Harden, 24. Not bad, obviously, but does that put Steph Curry a notch above Harden in the MVP race right now in your mind, with it being so close?
I mean, I'm not going to be biased about the situation, being from Houston, but the big difference in both those series is one game. And that one game was game 1 for the Warriors, where Klay Thompson took over in the fourth quarter. We don't have that type of second option. If James Harden has a bad game, we lose. That's pretty much saying that he is the MVP, the most valuable player. Now, he's not on the best team in the league. Stephen Curry is. And if you want to say he's the MVP because he's on the best team, that is fair. I have no problem with that. But being valuable is when your output changes the whole complexion of the game, and your scoring output will be the entire reason why you win or lose that game. So if James Harden shoots bad or he can't facilitate, we're in a hole. If Steph Curry does the same thing, he has a Klay Thompson that can put up 15, 20 points in the fourth quarter to clinch that game. That's the only thing we're missing that separates the two teams, is that Klay Thompson, like I said. But when you have Klay on your team, it makes things a lot easier. And then you will have 2 through 10 can come in and have production, that you just have a better team. So I still believe James Harden is the MVP only because we need him. But Steph Curry, he's still playing lights out, but he deserves the award just as well.
That's what I have as my MVP is Steph Curry. I feel like, every time he needed the answer, hit a big shot, make a big stretch, do something on the defensive end as well. I feel like he's done that and more. It's still a regular season award, so I wouldn't take away anything. I wouldn't give or take anything just from the first round of the playoffs. But I'll definitely say the first round so far, I guess you could say maybe Steph has had a better first 4 games than James, but James played huge last week. I mean, the last playoff game, game 3. Huge. First game, shooting-wise, and I think that's the biggest difference right now, is that shooting-wise, James is not shooting well this playoffs. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's just trying to find the flow of the game with Dwight being back full time and just not really getting your shots, or being able to get in the lane how you want to, because Dwight is down there with his man, so that could be something as well. But James hasn't shot well this playoffs, and I think something's going to have to change. And we're not saying that he's going to have to go off for 40 every night, but like we said, going 0 for 11 in the whole third quarter and you don't hit nothing. I think he didn't score points in the second half until free throw attempts now, which I think we're on a technical foul. So James is going to have to shoot better, or the shots are just going to have to fall, or it's a better shot selection. But I still don't take it away. I think James is a great MVP candidate. I just feel like for different reasons, Steph is going to win the MVP just because of the season he had as well. But just to go forward, I really want James to have a good playoff series, because if they win and he doesn't play well and they make it to the second round, that really doesn't give hope for the second round. And if the chance that they do lose and he doesn't play well, it's James is going to be that player now. He's going to be on the guy on the list who can't play in the playoffs.
But I mean, he's been on that list for pretty much a long time. You know, I'm very critical of James. I said he hasn't showed up in the playoff series since he was with the Thunder in the Western Finals when they had finally beat the Spurs. Ever since then, playoff James has been a question mark to me. He's not the same player that he is in the regular season. Has he made that change? For the most part, he has because he's came in clutch in a few moments, but he has to close out this series strong, and it's going to take a huge performance from him in the hometown in Game 5 in order for him to lead this team to the second round with confidence. You don't want to back into the second round because Corey Brewer went off for 30 or Trevor Ariza hit 6 or 7 threes. James Harden has to continue to ride his momentum from his season and close out this playoffs. He has to. He has to. Or Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard got to hit his free throws. And it all comes back to that. They have to hit the free throws. You cannot go 26 for 40 from the free throw line and wonder why you lost. Because you didn't turn the ball over that much. You only had 10 turnovers. You forced 10 steals from Dallas. Dallas had more turnovers than you did. It all comes down to your free throws.
Basically, the backdoor off what Andrew said, I also believe, the MVP is a regular season award. And whatever happens in the postseason, I don't put any more or less towards a player as far as their making for MVP. But when we do speak of MVP, we do speak of it as being value, most valuable player. That's what the MVP award means. And I also think, before I get into anything, both players make a strong case for it. Both players. You can't take anything away from either of them. They both are the best players on their team. They are. I do believe that Golden State is a better team. I do believe that Golden State has more weapons, has more pieces than the Rockets do. But at the same time, like we say, if they're the best team and he's the best player on the team, then what does that mean? He does add some value to it. Harden, he hasn't shown up. Well, last game, I'll give it to him. He had a good shooting game. He shot the ball well. But he has to make that consistent. You have to be able to come and do that 3-4 games, in the playoffs. It's not an 82-game season to where you can take off or, be inconsistent for 5 games, because if you're inconsistent for 4 of them, you're out. You could be out of the playoffs. So you have to be able to knock down those shots, get to your spots, hit them. And I don't know what it was today, but once the lead for the Mavericks went up, it seemed as though the Rockets' body language became worse, and they just kind of were thinking, there's always next game. We can knock this out next game. We can handle this next game. Even the lineup to start the fourth quarter, I was looking and I saw Nick Johnson, and I was thinking, what is he doing in the game? I looked at Golden State being down. Golden State was down. They never stopped trying. They never thought about that being number 1 seed, saying, we can go win it at home. They wanted to win every game. And I don't know what happened today with the Rockets, but it seemed as though they did. They kind of conceded early. Josh hit some threes late in the fourth quarter, which I don't even think he expected to make as many of them as he did.
All right.
But that's somewhat of the difference maker to me. I wanted to know where was the mindset at? Where was I wanted to see killer instinct James come out there, and try and make some plays, try and do something. Whether make some plays shooting or facilitating, but do something. And we didn't. It seemed as though he was just conceding, and they just basically come down the court. They let Josh have it. Josh shoot a 3. He made them, which you can't be upset about that, but I don't know if it was Mikhail, the players, what happened, but it just seemed like they were out of it, man.
I mean, especially Ariza, man, because you start seeing him lose that confidence. He started shying away from the 3 and came in and took those back-to-back pull-up jumpers and bricked them. Like, that just told you the whole complexion of the game was just gone and in Dallas' favor. I mean, when he passing up his 3, which he's a solid shooter, even though he was 0 for 4 when he had decided to pass up on the 3s, and you pull in, try to get a little bit closer, and you still can't knock it down. Not only are you missing, but you're taking away the possibility of that extra point. So your confidence is shot. Ariza didn't shoot the ball confident at all. James only had 1 turnover. He was fouling his teammates. He only had 5 assists, but nobody's knocking down the shots. Jet wasn't knocking down his shots. Ariza wasn't knocking down his shots. Harden couldn't get his shot to go. So while he looking for teammates, they missing, and then he's struggling also. That's just bad business for the Rockets. Then Prigioni come in. He supposed to facilitate. he's calling off picks and jacking up threes to no avail, and that's how you end up being down by 24.
That's exactly how it is, man. Well, they got another chance. Take it back to Houston, where hopefully they'll pull it out. We won't see a repeat of the mid 2000s series with the Jazz, or even just last year with the Blazers. Hopefully they can put all them demons to bed, you know. But anyway, family, that's been today's show. Want to thank the trifecta of knowledge here. Want to thank big homie DeMarcus, Andrew, and Timothy. Bringing the knowledge as always. Y'all stay on the line, man. This is the starting five.